Hello, and welcome to another episode of Snail Mail with Smokey, and episode 11 of Stamp versus Stamp. Those of you familiar with my channel and also that Dad Guy's channel, you know that Stamp versus Stamp is our monthly collaboration video where every month Rob and I team up to challenge each other with some wacky challenge in order to make philately fun, entertaining, and a bit educational. So what's on the docket for this month's Stamp versus Stamp challenge? Well, I've got to tell you, it's a good one. That's right, Stamp versus Stamp, episode 11, Around the World in 10 Stamps. So what Rob and I have done is this. We have taken a random country generator. It's actually a generator where you throw a virtual dart at a map. And we've done that 10 times each to pick 10 different countries. So I'll show you the video. This generator is really random, so there'll be a couple times you'll see it hit water. When it hits water, we'll hit it again until we hit a land mass, and that will be the country. For every country I travel to, I'll have to show you a stamp from that country. There are no limitations on what stamp that I can choose or Rob can choose. We're free to choose any stamp as long as it comes from the country that we've traveled to. Now, where I come into his video and he comes into mine is that we are going to ask each other 10 different questions about the location that we've traveled to. Once again, no limits. We can ask each other any questions that we would like to. And so on my video, I'm going to travel to a country. I'm going to show you a stamp. And then you're going to hear Rob's question to me about where I'm at. And then I will give you the answer. It is going to be a great video. I guarantee you're not going to want to miss it. So I want you to do a couple of things right off the bat. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, right now hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when future episodes of Snail Mail with Smokey are available on YouTube. And then the next thing is, after you watch this video, go to that Dad Guy's channel, watch his corresponding video. Both our thumbnails are very similar, so it's easy to find. And then give him a subscribe and a like and turn the bell icon on for his channel as well. So let's get started with this month's Stamp versus Stamp Around the World in 10 Stamps challenge. Well, as you can see, the first country that I have traveled to is the country of Russia. And so Russia has produced many postage stamps over the years, some really beautiful postage stamps. So I had a lot to choose from. But in the end, I chose this stamp here. Now, this is Scott number 6723. It was issued on November the 12th, 2002. It has a face value of 4 Russian rubles, and it features Alexander I, the Neva River, and St. Peter and Paul Cathedral. I think this is a beautiful stamp, a wonderful stamp, and I really like it. So why did I pick it? Well, let me tell you the story about why I picked this stamp. Wait a minute. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell you the story about why I picked this stamp just yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all 10 stamps. I'm going to give you the answer to all of 10 of Rob's questions. And then the very last thing I'm going to do is tell you why I picked each and every stamp. Let me give you just a little bit of insight and a tiny clue. Each of these stamps are cohesive. Each of these stamps carry a common bond. Can you figure out what it is? I'm going to tell you what that is at the end of this video. So let's listen to Rob's first question for this, my first stop in Russia.
All right, Smokey, you've landed at your first destination. What's the first place you're going to see while you are there?
Well, thank you, Rob. That's a great question. What's the first place that I'm going to visit when I get to Russia? There are a lot of things to see. I could have picked the Kremlin, Red Square. There are some magnificently beautiful churches that are located in Russia that I would love to visit. But I think my first stop in Russia is going to have to be in St. Petersburg, and it's going to be here, the State Hermitage Museum. It is one of the most famous museums in the entire world. It's housed in the Winter Palace. It contains over 2.7 million exhibits, including some of the world's greatest works of art. Also including those world's greatest works of art is some artwork by my favorite artist. You all know by now who that is, Vincent van Gogh. This museum was founded in 1764 when Empress Catherine the Great acquired a collection of paintings, and it has grown exponentially from there. It is world famous and a place that I would love to visit. So my first stop when I get to Russia, St. Petersburg and the Hermitage Museum. Well, thankfully, the trip wasn't too long from Russia to Mongolia. So now here I am in Mongolia, and I have to pick one postage stamp to share with you. And this is the stamp I've chosen. This, like I said, is from Mongolia. It is Scott number 2574. It was issued on September 15th, 2004. It has a face value of 300 Mongolian Tongra, and it features the 130th anniversary of the United Postal Union. It is a bright stamp, a vibrant stamp, a very colorful stamp, and one that I really do enjoy. Now, why did I pick this stamp? Remember, I'll tell you at the end of the video. Let's see Rob's question.
I know there's probably lots to do while you're in this country, but what's this country's biggest export? What are they known for?
Well, it's an interesting fact about Mongolia and exports. Did you know that in 2022, Mongolia was the number 126th economy in the world in terms of GDP, or gross domestic product? In 2022, Mongolia was also the world's largest exporter of animal hair. They exported about $430 million worth of animal hair. But that is not Mongolia's biggest export. As a matter of fact, Mongolia's top export are coal briquettes. That's right, coal briquettes. They export so much of that they do an average revenue of 6.48. That's right, $6.5 billion with a B dollars of coal briquette exports every year. I didn't know that. Did you know that? Well, now we both do. On to the next stop in our trip around the world. Well, I gotta tell you, that was a long flight from Mongolia to Cuba. Hours and hours of hours. I did some reading, did a little bit of sleeping. Thankfully, got to watch a movie on the flight as well. But boy, I'm tired. But I've got to pick a stamp before I can rest. So what stamp have I chosen from the vast wealth of stamps that the nation Cuba has produced? It's this stamp here. This is Scott number 5236, issued on September the 19th, 2011. Has a face value of 75 Cuban centavo cents. It is from a series of stamps from the National History Museum. And this colorful stamp features a brown pelican. I think this is a wonderful looking stamp. It's a great subject matter, and one that I'm happy to share with you in this video. But I'm in Cuba, so I'm pretty sure Rob's got a question for me about this specific place. Let's check it out.
You're already at your third destination? Oh, you must be getting hungry. So while you're here, what is the one food dish you must have?
So what food am I eating when I come to Cuba? What's the one thing that I've got to try? Well, excellent question. Doesn't surprise me that you asked me, Rob. We are both foodies. We love food. We love international food. Cuban cuisine is it's a fusion. It's a delightful fusion of African and Spanish, French and Haitian Creole influences, as well as flavors from Mexico and Central America. There are lots of traditional foods to choose from when you're visiting Cuba. But while I'm here, I'm going to try maybe the best known dish in Cuba, and that is ropa vieja, which is Spanish for old clothes. Now, I know that doesn't sound too appetizing, but let me show you what this dish is. It is a classic and treasured dish in Cuban cuisine. It features tender shredded beef. Sometimes people use chicken or pork, but traditionally it's beef. And it is slow cooked, which is something that I really like. I like to smoke food over hours and hours. I like to slow cook food over hours and hours. And so this beef is slow cooked. It's cooked in a tomato-based sauce. There's onion, there's capsicum, there's garlic, various other herbs and spices. And so it is a very flavorful dish, a very aromatic dish, and one that I am eager to try here in Cuba. Well, once again, thankfully, it wasn't too long a flight from Cuba. Now I am in Maple Leaf country. I'm just a little bit north of where I live in Wisconsin. My neighbors to the north, I have landed in the great nation of Canada. Canada has a rich postal history and tradition. Lots of beautiful postage stamps have been issued through Canada Post. And so, which one did I pick for this challenge? Here's the stamp. This is Scott number 907. It is a definitive stamp, not a commemorative stamp, something that I don't always pick, but it was issued on December 29th, 1981. It features a simple maple leaf design, and it has no face value. I think it is a classic stamp. It is classic for its simplicity and for the huge maple leaf, which represents the entire country of Canada. And so one that I was very happy to select and share with you for this video. Well, now that we're in Canada, I feel like some trivia is coming my way. Let's see what Rob has to say.
I can't believe you're lucky enough to be here of all places in the whole world. I forget, who's the political leader here? And what are they known for?
Well, now, Rob, I understand that you are on vacation and you are cruising around the Mediterranean and you're away from home. But you should remember the leader of your home nation, right? I bet you do. I bet you're just testing me, aren't you? Well, let me give you the answer. The political leader in the nation of Canada is the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, who is Prime Minister of Canada. As a matter of fact, he is Canada's 23rd Prime Minister. He was elected leader of the Liberal Party in April 2013. On October 19th, 2015, Trudeau led his party to victory, winning a majority government with seats in every province and territory across the country. He was sworn into office on November 4th, 2015. And then on October 21st, 2019, he led his Liberal Party to re-election, earning a second term. And then again on September 20th, 2021, Justin Trudeau once again led the party to re-election, earning him a third term as Canada's Prime Minister. So very fascinating information about Justin Trudeau and about his 3 terms as Canadian Prime Minister and everything that he has done to help the nation of Canada. But, of course, Rob, you already knew that. Let's see where we're going next. Whew, boy, I am tired. That was another long flight from Canada to South Africa. I want to get to a hotel. I want to put my stuff away. I want to take a walk, try to beat this jet lag, get something to eat, and just relax and take in the sights. But before I can do any of that, I got to show you a stamp. So which stamp have I chosen for South Africa? Well, it is this stamp here, Scott number 1291. It was issued on September 23rd, 2002, and it has no face value. Now, it was issued in a series of stamps for the Cricket World Cup. Now, I am not a fan of cricket. I don't understand the game. I haven't spent enough time studying the game, but I know there are plenty of you who love cricket, so I think you're going to love this stamp. This stamp features Dazzler, who was one of the most beloved mascots in the ICC World Cup. This was in 2003, the World Cup hosted by South Africa. Dazzler was a cricket-playing zebra who wore green pads and gloves and a red shirt, and he symbolizes the wildlife in South Africa. And he has black and white stripes depicting the blend of black and white people in South Africa. So this is a really great stamp. It is a really colorful stamp. I love the cartoon image of Dazzler there, and so I hope you enjoy it as well. Wonder what question Rob's going to ask me about South Africa. Let's find out.
Destination number 5. What's the highest peak where you are?
Well, maybe Rob's thinking I want to do a little mountain climbing while I'm here. Probably not going to happen for me. I like to keep my feet on the ground. But if you want to look at a beautiful mountain from the ground, or you're adventurous enough to scale it yourself, the highest peak in South Africa is Mafate Peak. It is a peak that is on the border between South Africa and Lesotho. It has a height of 3,461.1 meters, or 11,361 feet. Now, this is the highest mountain in the nation of South Africa, and as you can tell from the photo, it is a beautiful peak. I didn't hear that boarding announcement. Did you hear it? I gotta go find out where I'm going to next. Come check it out with me, okay? Woo! Well, here I am in beautiful Indonesia, someplace I have never been before. I'm really thrilled to be here and to explore this wonderful country. So let's start the exploration off by sharing a stamp. For Indonesia, I've chosen this stamp. This is Scott number 70. It was issued on December 7th, 1949. It features a map of the Indonesian archipelago, and it is overprinted. It has a face value of 1 Indonesian sen. I picked this stamp because it shows the archipelago of Indonesia, and it is a great looking stamp. But those aren't the only reasons I picked the stamp. I'll tell you the others here in a little bit. Let's go see what Rob's got to say.
You've seen some amazing things on this worldwide trip. In the country location you are right now, what's the national bird?
Well, I've got to tell you, I am learning so many things from my trip around the world. And Rob, this is such a great question. It's something that I did not know, but the locals here are quick to fill you in and tell you what their national bird is. Nestled in the vast archipelago of Southeast Asia, Indonesia is home to a myriad of flora and fauna, and they are diverse in the thousands. However, among this vast biodiversity, one bird soars high as the emblem of the nation's natural beauty, and that is the Javan hawk eagle. In 1993, the Javan hawk eagle was declared Indonesia's national bird. It is a symbol of the nation's dedication to conserving its rare species. This choice was not made lightly by Indonesia. This bird embodies several qualities revered in Indonesian culture. Its regal appearance and soaring flight symbolize freedom, majesty, and power. And if you ask me, it is a spectacularly beautiful bird, and one that I'm happy to have discovered here in Indonesia. Well, it looks like the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign, so I better get buckled in and head to my next destination. Well, they say there's no place like home, and for my 7th destination, I have flown back to the United States of America, but this country is a country of 50 unique states. Weather can go from freezing cold to boiling warm, and anything in between, from rain and wind and hail to snow and floods. From mountain peaks to river valleys. This nation has so much to see and do and offer, and the choice of stamps is no different. There are thousands of stamps for me to choose from, but I chose this stamp from the United States of America. It is Scott number 1241, issued on December the 7th, 1963. It has a face value of 5 cents, and it features the black-throated magpie jay. It is part of a tribute to John James Audubon, a commemorative stamp to him. If you've never heard of John Audubon, please look him up on the web. A wonderful individual who was really did some fantastic things when it comes to wildlife and conservation. So do go look him up. I think this is such a beautiful stamp. One of the most, I think, that the United States has issued. I love these birds. I have several of these stamps in my collection. And so that's just one of the reasons that I'm choosing to share it with you today. Hey, since I'm back in America, I might as well take some time to relax and see some sights. So I'll talk to you. What? Oh, that's right. Rob's got another question. Let's go hear it.
You were really racking up the aero miles in your travels. You getting a little bit tired of getting on and off planes and trains and buses? Do you think maybe there's somebody famous where you are now? Who's the most famous person, and what are they famous for?
Are there any famous people in the United States of America? Well, yes. With places like Hollywood and Broadway and Washington, D.C., there are lots of famous people here in the United States of America, especially when, if you ask me, this is one of the few countries where you can be famous, it seems like, just for being famous. Fame to me is kind of relative. So I could have went a lot of directions with this question. But since I believe fame is relative, this is what I went for. Because here in the U.S., it is the beginning of football season. Now, not football like most of the world thinks, which we here in America call soccer, but American football. It is the beginning of the NFL season. And so my pick for a famous person that lives here right now is Bo Nix. Now, if you don't know who Bo Nix is, he is the NCAA's leading game player at the position of quarterback. He played 3 seasons of college football for Auburn, the University of Auburn Tigers. He was named 2019 SEC Freshman of the Year. In 2022, Bo Nix transferred to the Oregon Ducks, and in 2023 won the Heisman Trophy. That year he led the league, or the college football, in touchdowns. He was selected by the Denver Broncos in the 2024 NFL Draft. He was their first-round pick, and he has just been named the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos this season after having a perfect preseason. The Broncos won all their preseason games, and if you haven't picked up on it yet, I am a huge Denver Bronco fan. And so after a few less than impressive years, I am hopeful that with an invigorated coaching staff, some changes made in the roster, and the addition of this fine young quarterback, Bo Nix, that the Denver Broncos are going to have a remarkable season, and dare I say, a run to be Super Bowl champions. Welcome to Brazil, a great South American country, and one that I am thrilled to be visiting. And so before I can do any kind of touristy things, I got to show you a stamp, don't I? Well, here's the stamp. This was issued by Brazil. It is Scott number 1038, issued on July 7th, 1967, has a face value of 3 Brazilian centavo. And this stamp features Rita Lobato, who lived from 1866 to 1954. So who was she? Well, in 1877, after overcoming lots of prejudice, Rita became the first Brazilian woman and the second Latin American woman to obtain a medical degree after she defended a thesis on the cesarean operation. And so Brazil commemorates her by issuing this postage stamp featuring her image.
I know you're getting jet-lagged, but we're getting near the end. When did this country become a country? I forget.
Well, that's a great question, Robin. As a history buff, I'm always interested in how countries became countries. Brazil has a very long history. They go back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. But Brazil became an independent country on September the 7th, 1822. This date marks the moment when Prince Pedro declared Brazil's independence from Portugal, and they became an independent nation all their own. Well, it looks like a repeat visit back to the United States of America, back to my home country. And so I am fortunate enough again to be here and to share with you another wonderful postage stamp from the United States. This time I have picked this stamp here. It is Scott number 2002, issued on April 14th, 1982. It has a face value of 20 cents. And just between me and you, I long for the postal rates of the 1980s. This stamp, this single stamp, is from a tremendously wonderful series of stamps called State Birds and Flowers. They issued a stamp for each one of the 50 states. It shows each state bird and state flower. This particular stamp features Wyoming and their state bird, the western meadowlark, and Indian paintbrush, which is their state flower. Like I said, I think this is a beautiful set of stamps, one that I'm proud to have in my collection, and I think one of the best series of stamps the USPS has ever done. And so one of the reasons I'm showing you this stamp. Look, I've got a lot of country to explore. Plan on traveling down Route 66, the mother road of this great nation, seeing lots of sights, eating some really tasty food. But before I can dash off and do that, I got to answer Rob's question. So let's see what it is.
Well, we know from this journey we've taken so far that money has been no cost. You've been flying around the world, taking all sorts of touristy things and eating fantastically along the trip. You're almost at your final destination to seeing home, but you still need a good night's sleep. Where are you going to stay tonight, and why is it so special?
Where am I spending the night, and why is it so special? Well, like I've said before, the U.S. is a big place, and there is no shortage of hotels, motels, Airbnbs, houses for rent, lodging of every shape and size, of every price point. So I answered this question backward because you asked me where I'm staying and why it's special. So I knew that the place that I had to pick to stay had to be special. So that means it wasn't just a run-of-the-mill hotel. It wasn't just a B&B. It wasn't an Airbnb. It had to be somewhere that held a special meaning to me. And so in all of the country, I can think of one place that I'm going to spend the night. And let me show you where I'm spending the night. This is the place. That's right, it's a caboose. This is Livingston Junction, which is located in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. The owners of this place have 3 cabooses and 1 train depot on their property that they rent out to people all the time. And so I'm going to be showing you some pictures of this particular caboose. And the inside of the caboose, it has a really large deck. There's a grill on the deck. There's a hot tub. And the caboose is actually more spacious on the inside than you might think. There's a bed. There's a bathroom and a shower. There's a little dining table. There's a kitchenette. There's a television. Everything you need is inside this caboose. And the great thing is, there's nobody around. You're on your own private driveway, your own little private piece of land, and you're never going to see anyone while you're there. And that's one of the great things about this place. So this is where I'm spending the night. And I'm very excited about it. And you're like, okay, we get it. It's a caboose. You must be some sort of huge train guy or something like that. Actually, no, I'm not a huge train guy. Now, don't get me wrong. I love trains. I've ridden on trains. I think trains are great and cool. But that's not why I picked this place. I picked this place because it is special. Because this is the place my wife and I stayed on our honeymoon. When we got married, we spent several nights in this caboose, and it was a wonderful experience. We got to do lots of things while we were there in Arkansas, and it was just a great time that we got to spend together right after we got married. It holds a special place in my heart. I will never forget it. She will never forget it. I grilled Cornish game hens on that charcoal grill that's on the deck. We ate them in that tiny dining table that you saw. We watched movies on that little TV. We explored the nature trails around walking. We rode horseback in a place very near to that. It was just a wonderful trip and one that I will never forget. So in all of the U.S., if I'm picking someplace and it's special to me, this is where I'm staying. I hate to admit this, but I'm tired. I mean, it has been a whirlwind tour of this great planet Earth, but I'm kind of exhausted. And so for my last country, the map has brought me back to South Africa. So once again, a very long flight from the U.S. to South Africa. And it'll be a very long flight from here back to Wisconsin. But while I'm here, I might as well take advantage of it, see some things I didn't get to see the first time I was here, experience things that I wasn't able to pack into that first visit, and show you another stamp from this great country. So for this stamp, the last stamp of this challenge, I have chosen this stamp here. This is Scott number 7. It was issued in 1913. It has a face value of 3 South African pennies, and it features King George V. It is a beautiful stamp, an elegant stamp, and a classic stamp, and I love it. So now that I'm back in South Africa, what should I do? Maybe Rob's got an idea. Let's ask him.
I've heard some of the stories. You've done a lot of different things, maybe not outside the box in some of them, but what's one thing you could try in this country that might scare you a little bit to do?
So what's the one thing that I could do here in South Africa that might scare me a little bit to do? Rob, I'm really thankful that you added the little bit because that took off some major things that frightened me, like, you know, going to a circus and seeing a bunch of clowns or something of that nature. So I did a little bit of exploring. What can I do here in South Africa that may be a bit out of my comfort zone? This is what I've come up with. I'm going to go to Table Mountain. Table Mountain is a flat-top mountain. It is a prominent landmark that overlooks Cape Town here in South Africa. It is a huge tourist attraction. Many people visit this every year. As a matter of fact, over 4 million people a year visit this. Table Mountain National Park is the most visited national park in South Africa. So this is where I'm going to go. You say, well, why does that scare you? You're not scared of parks or mountains, are you? No. I love parks. I love mountains. You know what I don't like? I don't like heights. And if I'm going to explore this beautiful park, there is a cable car that runs frequently from the lower cable station to the summit of the mountain, where there are stunningly magnificent views of the city of Cape Town, of Robben Island, and of the Atlantic Ocean that I can view from this point. But the only way I'm going to do that is to take this cable car. And like I said, I don't like to get any higher than the, than what my head is. And so this is significantly higher than that. But hey, Rob, thanks to your inspiration and your encouragement, I'm going to brave this. I'm going to try to conquer my fear of heights. And I'm going to go hit the cable car, see what kind of views I can see. I'll catch up with you guys when I get back to Wisconsin, and we'll wrap this thing up. See you in a second. Well, they say there is no place like home, and that is a fact. Look, I had a great time sprinting around the world in this 10 stamps challenge with Rob, but I got to tell you, it's good to be back in good old Wisconsin. It's good to be back in my office, and it's good to be talking to you. So I guess the only thing left for me to do is wrap this video up and say thank you for watching. What? What's that? Oh, yeah, that's right. You want to know what all these stamps I picked have in common. You want to know why I chose them. Well, let me tell you why. If you're familiar with the channel, you know that usually I tell you a story about each individual stamp, usually from one of my life experiences. But this time I wanted to tell you a story without you necessarily knowing I was telling you a story. I wanted it to be a hidden story, something that was woven in the background of each one of these stamps. So, have you caught on? Do you know what these stamps have in common? Well, let me tell you now. Each of these stamps have numbers in common. They're the number 7, the number 9, and the number 2002. And there's one word that links some of these stamps together, and that word is September. So either they were issued in the month of September, or there was a 9, a 7, or a 2002 in the Scott number, or year, or day of issue of all of these stamps. So why? What's special about 7, 9, and 2002? Well, to me, everything. Because I was married on September the 7th, 2002. So this week is my wife and I's 22nd wedding anniversary. And so as a nod to 22 amazing years with this wonderful, beautiful, intelligent, magnificent lady, I just kind of wanted to weave our story through the background. Because any travel I do, any experience that I have, any food I eat, any place I go, any art that I look at, anything that I'm doing, it isn't the same unless she's by my side. And so for 22 years, she's been by my side. My best friend, the smartest person I know on the planet, my biggest supporter, the greatest mom that I think our girls could ever ask for, the example of a godly woman that she lives out in her daily life. She's just amazing. And our love story is one that I think our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids, at least one I hope that they will tell for generations to come. And so it's that story that I was telling you by weaving the dates of our marriage in the background of this stamp show. So thank you for allowing me to get mushy real quick. Thank you for allowing me to get real. And thank you for allowing me to share this experience with you. Thanks again to Rob, my collaborative partner, for almost a year now. Rob, our next video is going to mark a year that we've been doing that. It's going to have to be something special. It's going to have to be something grand. And that means it's going to have to be something really, really difficult for you and I to do. So if you've got an idea what that is, please leave a comment below. Let Rob and I know what zany, wacky, outrageous challenge he and I should take on for next month's Stamp versus Stamp. I promise we'll read every one of them. We'll talk about every one of them, and we will consider every one of them. Don't forget to hop on over to That Dad Guy's channel and watch his video and give him a like. Thank you so very much for watching. It's always a blast for me to join you here on YouTube. And until I see you next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.